Hello.
Hi. Okay.
All set, Polly?
Uh, sure.
All right, very good.
Does it look okay?
Yes, looks great.
Should I be farther?
I think it looks great. Uh, I think we're almost on.
You're live. Go.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Uh, this is Cheryl Peralt, and this is the second Zoom program here and calling it Friday Night Wake Up Call here at HCAM TV. And it is Friday night, and I am here with Polly Brown and later joined by my friend Peg as well. I wanted to just note that this is a evolution with Zoom that will share some poetry and performance of songs with you as viewers and also some conversation with my guests. And I'd like to make a note that in doing this different through Zoom, it is a time where my mother and father can now see my program after all these years of 14 years. So I will say hello to them now. And my father, who sometimes watches the archives and is a bit of a Siskel and Ebert with me and telling me things, told me my last setting was a little too much. I looked like a ghost. So I changed for you, Dad. And I'd also like to say happy birthday to Mike Tarosian today, who's part of the HCAM crew, as well as Cynthia Franza, who will be on next week on Friday night. Polly, we should get going, but I did want to acknowledge at 7 o'clock. I know that it is the time in New York, especially where folks say thank you to all the medical staff, doctors and nurses, and all the folks who work and make healthcare happen for people there in New York, and that this is remembered all over right now in dealing with this pandemic as well. So I would just like to refer folks to a youth poet laureate that I heard today, Amanda Gorman on CBS. I don't know if you heard her.
No.
She had a wonderful poem that she shared in the morning, and I would like to suggest folks take a look at it later on YouTube. And I know that young people is part of your story as a poet, as well as nature, the natural world as inspiration. So I'll just give a brief little introduction that Polly is here as a poet from Hopkinton that I've known through this program through the years. And she's a writer, a teacher. She's now author of 3 books of poetry, most recently 2019 publication of Pebble Leaf Feather Knife. And she is a recipient of awards like the Mass Poetry Foundation Award and the Worcester County Poetry Recipient Award. She has taught poetry classes and workshops in all kinds of interesting places. And she has also been busy working on publication, a collection of poetry of her mother's work that perhaps we'll talk about too. So with that, we'll have a little conversation and then maybe you can share a few poems from your latest book. If that's what you like, you can do whatever you want, really. But I am curious, and I know this is so much a part of you, of your poems, of who you are, of walking on the streets of Hopkinton. You're famous for being seen because you walk so much out in the trails and the sidewalks out in the earth. That a deep connection to the earth comes through in a lot of your poetry. And I wonder how you would say that that connection got started for you.
I think probably before I can remember. Yeah. Yeah. And it is so important to me, the walking. the walking. And since there was a health complication for my husband, for Alex, right, that you know about, and the walking has been very important for him. It was part of his recovery. The conversations that we have while we're walking, you know, that good thing about side by side conversations instead of face to face conversations. Side by side can be so good. Yeah, yeah. So the poem. Can I start reading poems?
Yeah. Sure. Yes. You brought your latest book.
So here it is. And I was thinking about how when I was a kid and was first allowed to walk off away from my family, it was at the beach because they could see me. And then when I was first allowed to walk away from home, it was the road that went to the beach. And that place and the water and the boats show up in lots and lots of poems. And in this poem that I'm going to read, I won't be writing about that, but along they will come. I'll be writing about something else, and along comes the beach or a boat. This is called Mike Talks to Abe. He begins to tell about fishing, how they'll do that together. Then he thinks, wait, I have to tell him what a fish is. A large mouth with flesh behind it, a stretch of muscle spangled with scales. And about water, where you swam, little fish, before we all welcomed you into air. It will take time to make sense of boats, how things fall through water, how water can be death. But a fish hovers like magic, and a boat settles onto the water like a body on a bed, part in, part over. He falls silent. Abe sleeps again, a warm weight on his chest. Explanation drifts on out to sea, and he too sleeps.
Every time I hear that, I feel like I am right in that room with both of them.
And so there's the water, there's the boat, there's that way that our connection with the world, with the outdoor world, with nature, is always about wonder and risk braided together, right? So and walking is partly about being outside, but it's also the motion, the motion, and walking is a way of rocking your own cradle, the comfort of that. And this next poem is another poem about moving and about water. In this case, it's about swimming. And it's called Julia Swimming. Pulling the water back and yourself through, you flutter kick as an angel might hover, tip up your head for air. Calm at that surface, you quiet the rough churned pool to a pond, silver, where happy and sleek and at home as an otter, you find this grace, stroke by stroke, weave it deep. And in the next one, there's motion here in this one too. So Cheryl, are you an Old Sturbridge Village fan?
Yes, I am.
So you know, at Old Sturbridge Village, in the middle of the common, how there's a hand pump, and in winter it's all covered over so that it doesn't freeze. But in summer, it's there, and it is such a magnet for not just kids but grown-ups too, right? Right. And so this is about a kid discovering that place, discovering the possibility of pumping water out of the ground. It's called Zen and Bapu, and Zen is the name of a child, and Bapu is what he calls his grandfather. Zen and Bapu. A small child, proud of the strength of his arms, his hands, which outsize any he's had before, works and works a long handle to pump from deep in the hill above a river, bright, cold water. And the grandfather, only starting to be old, but fallen once already into the darkest river of all, then called back, pulled back. He reaches his own large hand into this fresh stream from the pump to catch the drops that fall and fall through sunlight. So
You are a beautiful storyteller of moments.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So although I sometimes write about children, I don't ever feel like I'm writing for children, because somehow there is darkness along with light there. Yes. Yeah. But here's where I'll admit it, that I am reading poems inspired by my grandchildren, who are such a joy to me, a joy that I wish someday for you, if that is the path that your life takes. And at the same time, they, at times like this, right? Like this right now, in the middle of what Bonnie Bishop calls the damdemic. But not only now, at other times, thinking about all the troubles, all the things that need solutions. I feel like my love for those children makes just complicates all of that for me.
Yeah, I hear that in the voice of your poems, the great love for grandchildren and carrying that with the concern of life as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
the
don't,
wisdom.
and I you don't have to have grandchildren. I mean,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I have friends who do not, and who through any kind of connection with children have that same deep wish for the future to be a place where those children can live. Yeah. And so
you have a few more poems to share.
I'm going to read one more grandchild poem. This one is called For Luna. For Luna. And Luna is in fact 3. and a character. They all are, each in their own way. But for Luna, when you gallop down the hall, sing out, "Whoa, Joe," and return face alight, I wonder about sending the firecracker of you into that uncertain future we will not share. For now, we walk down to the river, shifted sideways, leaning into the slope. You place each small foot with care, step forward, anchor. This comfort. When the time comes for carrying candles through the dark, you will be steady as you go and probably singing.
Yeah, well, that's just beautiful. Another milestone moment and imagining into the future as well.
It was in the process of revising the poem. As I revised it, it went from very, very dark to finally I thought, I kept going back to that moment when she braced herself so competently on the hill. And that she was only 2 when that happened. She was just this tiny little child, and she knew how to get herself down the steep part of the path to the river. I thought, there is strength there. And I wanted the poem to go with that strength. Yeah. And that's
empowering her with your poem through that way, and also your readers to understand how to do that very important process we, as the previous generation, have to do with our future generations of young people.
We have to, because the worry won't, in and of itself, won't make anything good happen. We have to send them off in strength. Yeah.
Which has probably been an ongoing task of our civilization as well, even though we're facing something hard right now. But
well, I was reading a book in which a whole family died from the plague. Was in England, whole family in one afternoon. And I thought, this is not the only time we have faced hard things.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have worked with young people for quite a while over at Touchstone School. I know you were a well-loved teacher. You got children over there excited about poetry. I know that as a witness. And you also have your grandchildren. What would you say? You've been a teacher of children. What have you learned from children, maybe in particular related to working on poetry with them?
Oh, working. So mostly I worked with 11 and 12-year-olds who are now grown-ups and have their own children. Some of them. But working with 11 and 12-year-olds, I was so inspired by the way they were always trying to put the world together. Yeah. And by their courage. I would ask them to write about something that they were afraid of, and just be blown away, deeply, deeply inspired by it had to be an open-ended invitation. It had to be an invitation they could ignore. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you can force kids.
Right.
But on the other hand, if you're working with kids or adults with language, and you don't go to the places of redemption that language can take you to, right? Then you are wasting their time, yours, everybody's.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I know we are moving along. I also wanted to bring up, in addition to children, you've worked with your own mother. You're a bit of a sandwich generation poet in a way, enabling poetry, getting people to write poetry, and getting your mother's book of poems published just shortly before she passed away. And I don't know if you learned anything. Oh, there it is. You, you have a
And
few more poems to share, and one is included in there as well.
I wanted to read one of hers because the timing is so perfect. It's just, it's the right time because you know, every tiny little ditch in the landscape is full of running water right now, right? The brooks on the center trail are gurgling away. At the state park, at Hopkinton State Park, there's just water running down every tiny little crack. And this is Jeannie's poem, my mother's poem, called Spring Ditch. Where can we go on a fickle day, mild, over mud leaking, clutter piled snow? How can we celebrate the spring? I know a place where two could stoop and stare, struck by the curling of water in gutter, hazarding mud, stone, and stick boat against flow. As reborn we grow to old knowledge. Give up your care and sing. Embrace the itch. Bring boots and share the damming of the ditch.
Oh, wow. And how old was she when she wrote that particular poem?
Younger than I am now. Yeah. I think that was written when she was living in New Hampshire. When, you know, she herself, there were so many poems when we went to look at them, and she herself had to figure out from clues sometimes, you know, right? Which typewriter had typed that poem, right? Would be a clue. So
what a very special project for her to do with you in her last years.
Golly, it means, you know, I am just so grateful to have been able to do that with a lot of help from my sisters, from Alex, my husband. I wanted to read, if there's time. Do we still have time?
Yes,
I wanted to read a couple of poems about the landscape of Hopkinton and nearby, which I love so much. I feel so lucky to live here in this landscape with all those rocks, right? Crazy rocks and brooks and woods. So this one comes from walking on the Milford Trail. And we encountered someone who was very excited about a bird, and she was convinced that it was a crane. And I knew that it was a great blue heron because in New England, we do not have cranes. It's called kin. Crane, she said, crane. A long yellow beak and gray feathers down by the water. We were in New England. I knew what she had seen. Heron, great blue. But the magic for her, by some difference of birth or literature, lay all in the word crane, which she repeated as her son clapped his arms like a beak, having taken the bird as a version of his own body. When it rose, unfolding impossible wings, he would follow, see us from the sky. The hell with names, I thought, and walked on. Hooray for the heron, for the crane, all our kin.
Thank you.
There's times, if you're a teacher, in the same way that I have to remind myself that I'm not on permanent recess duty for the rest of the world, right? I don't have to tell everybody how to behave outdoors. There are times when I feel like it's really important not to say it's a heron. For her, it was a crane. Maybe one more?
Yes. Yeah, please do.
Okay. So this one, is called In Spring. Near a house site on the Westboro Road, in scrub woods and wild trout lilies by a new driveway, a small hand-lettered sign reads, well, most likely to tell the drillers they've found the right place. But every morning I pass and the green world clears its throat. Well, and I wait for whatever the woods will say next, sooner or later, or since you mentioned it, or in fact, you can see how I'm blessed by a common delusion that the world has been trying to get my attention, that it's been waiting for the right occasion, that even this morning it might declare itself once more.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I love you giving voice there to the woods, the green voice. And I had a last question. Why do you think, in your work as a poet as well as a person, emphasizing our connection, to our deep connection to the earth is so important, even at this time of pandemic, to focus on this? Maybe in a minute, you could tell us.
I don't know. It's what comes. It's what's there for me, right? It is. I feel, such concern for so many kinds of people, including people who cannot get outside, right? People who live in a place where it's not safe to take the elevator down to the street, right? But I'm so old, Cheryl. I'm so old that by now I know that my poems are the poems I'm supposed to write.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And so.
And why write poems? Why write poems, Polly?
Because I can, because they're there.
Well, I'm so glad that you can. And I dearly love and admire your poetry for years. And I'm so glad you could join me this evening.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Are you working
Thank you.
on any projects right now related to poetry within the household?
I keep working, keep writing, and
Right.
I'm continuing to write about my dad's war, which took courage, had to be worked up to, but has been a very, very, very good thing for me to do. So I am grateful, and grateful to you for all the wonderful people you've introduced me to. So.
Well, I am grateful back. And if folks would like to get a copy of your new book,
it is on, I hate to mention it, Amazon.com.
All right. Well, that's what we can count on right now these days. And that's a beautiful book to have and to read at this time and access nature, whether you can get outside or not as well. So thank you so much, Polly, and take good care. And
thank you.
We'll see you on the streets of Hopkinton. Okay. All right. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. So, as it looks like maybe we have Peg Espinola on board. And as she is arriving into the studio here, kind of, I would like to just mention that at Wake Up and Smell the Poetry, which is what I had been hosting at HCAM Studio for the past 14 years, open mic would be a very important component of the program as well. That would follow our first hour of guest features with one singer songwriter and one poet. We are not doing that now, but there is an opportunity if you are a writer of poetry or stories or songs, perhaps an opportunity to submit for a program that I am working on with Cincha Franza to recruit poetry for these challenging times of hope, or as I said, stories also, or if you'd like to submit some song lyrics. And I will get the address for you for that. But the idea is we would like to make some video compilations of people's submission of a 3-minute poem or story. As well as eventually compile a book of contributors of who talk about their favorite poems or their own stories, or submit something original that offers uplift and words of hope and resilience for dealing with challenging times such as what we're dealing with right now, this time of pandemic. So I will get that address for you, but right now I would like to welcome Peg Espinola, who is.
I have a problem, Cheryl.
Oh, you have a problem. Okay.
I can't turn off I can't turn off the live stream that I was watching because you're taking the whole screen. The whole screen.
Peg Espinola, who. Okay.
I have a problem, Cheryl. Can you somehow make the screen smaller? So I may have to. I can't turn off the live stream that I was watching because you're taking the whole screen. The whole screen.
Oh, well, it's.
I might have to turn my computer off and start over.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So maybe we'll see you in here in a moment.
It's terrible. I can't contract the screen, so I can't get out the other. I might have to turn my computer off and start. What can I do? Okay.
Hey, move your mouse to the very top center of the screen and see if you have a little X that appears.
I've got nothing. Nothing now. Nothing. Nothing at all. What can I do? I have nothing.
So close.
My screen is black.
But so far away.
I'm going to leave the meeting and turn off the other.
All right. Peg is momentarily leaving, and I hope she will come back.
I will come back.
And meantime, I will give you that address and to tell you a little bit more, and hopefully Peg will make it back on Zoom. So the possibility of contributing your own original words of poetry or a story, I think we say of up to 500 words, that can be filmed or it can be written and submitted. And what you can do is check out our website at hopkintonthroughpoetrybook.com. Because Cincha Franza and I, who will be here next week, worked on a first compilation of local poetry for Hopkinton, Massachusetts' 350th anniversary of the town. And we gathered poems from people, sometimes first-time writers, from age 8 to 102. And this time we would like to not only ask the folks locally, but beyond, friends of Hopkinton, and we have already heard from Australia, someone over there. So check out the website, and we will consider that a type of open mic. There's Peg. Hi, Peg. You made it. We just need you to.
Okay. All right.
Mute.
Oh,
Because I can't hear your voice.
you can't hear my voice?
There it is. Now we can hear you sing.
You
About you?
You can hear me,
Okay.
right? Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I
So
tried that. Yeah.
is in her home studio of Sudbury right now. And Peg is a wonderful singer-songwriter. In fact, Peg featured with Polly Brown at Wake Up and Smell the Poetry last June, I believe. Peg started writing songs, her own original songs, when she was in her 60s. And at this time, she professes to be an octogenarian, about 83 ish. And she has lived in many different places of the world over her time and had what I believe a very interesting and active life. She's worked as a clinical social worker and continues to do so. Very involved in social justice movements and organizations that might come up in her songs. She has 4 CDs now.
4.
Right.
Yep.
And perhaps she will be sharing some of the songs from these CDs. The 3 titles I have are Danish Modern, Living Well, and Thoughts en Route to the Hairdresser. And the most recent one, please remind me.
The Truth About 80.
The Truth About 80. Wow. That's pretty upfront then, as we talk about being an octogenarian and a bit about aging perhaps as well. And I know that what I recently found out about you also is that you're very busy at this time of pandemic. I was trying to talk to you on the phone, and you said you had a few different things going on. One day I could call you the next day. How are things going for you? What are you doing over there?
Well, I'm doing a lot, actually. It's kind of crazy. So many of the things I was doing are now done virtually on Zoom. Even my meditation group, my church service, and the coffee hour afterward, my songwriting circle, political meetings with Indivisible and of Acton. So I'm really quite busy. And I also walk. I still walk outside alone or with my friends 6 feet apart.
Ah, yeah.
So
And you do exercise class also?
Oh yeah, I'm in chair yoga, and that has gone virtual as well. That's great fun.
Well, I can see you have a lot going on at this
I
time.
have more going on. It feels like I have more going on since the pandemic than I had before.
Uh-huh. And you've been writing songs as well. You've been able
Well,
to.
I've written one song since the pandemic called Coronavirus.
Is that one you wanted to share?
Yes,
Right.
it's yes. I
Would this be a good time?
This would be a good time.
All right. I know that you've had quite a few views, right? You're on Facebook and YouTube with this song, and you're
Yes.
getting a lot of attention.
I've had between Facebook and YouTube, I've had over 3,000 views.
Woohoo!
Which is not to say likes. In fact, the ones on YouTube, the average length of time that they are with the song is a little over a minute, and the song's 2 minutes long, which means that some people are not hanging in there till the end. But anyway, here it is. I hope I'm still in tune. By the way, that interview with Polly was lovely. I love her poetry. It's just so generous and thoughtful and wonderful, beautiful. So anyway, this is called Coronavirus. I sit in silence looking out as I record each budding tree, Sweet spring is here without a doubt, yet there is little joy in me. A bird oblivious sings a song. He doesn't distance from his friend. He doesn't know that something's wrong, nor wonder when this plague will end. I started eating like a horse to try and fix my hollow heart, but eating didn't reach the source, the pain of living far apart from all the people whom I cherish, while worrying that I might perish. Instead, the phone, TV, and Zoom are ways my problem I address. They bring the world into my home and ease this time of loneliness. And virtual concerts please my ears while I am staying safe inside. They help me listen to my fears and by these strange new rules abide. Meanwhile, I hope that someday soon, of course, I'm sorry. Meanwhile, I hope that someday soon, although of course we know not when, we'll each emerge from our cocoon and hug each other once again. We'll each emerge from our cocoon and hug each other once again.
Wow, thank you, Peg. That's a that is quite an impressive way to get started with our program tonight. And you cover so much in just two little moments there with your honesty and your wit and your hope all bundled up in that song. That's quite a powerhouse of a song.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. And in writing that song, did you what inspired you to write a coronavirus song?
Well, I was feeling rotten and lousy and awful, and I was racing around and I was eating like a horse. I still am, actually. It's something we're all doing. You read about that a lot. Kevin Cullen had a very funny article in the Globe the other day on he's blowing up like a balloon, as am I. So when that happens, I often feel a need to write a song when I'm agitated.
Yeah.
And actually, what happened was no, that was a different song. So anyway, I just sat down and tried to write it. I'm also in a songwriting circle, and we have to come up with a song. We try to come up with a song every month, and the songwriting circle was going to happen. So that was an added pressure, and that helps too. And I originally wrote it in iambic pentameter because I felt it was a big, heavy subject, and it needed a wide platform. So I wrote it, and it was quite poetical and serious and all that, and people liked it. And then I said to myself, "That's not the song I want to write." So I said, "I'm going to make this much shorter. I'm going to put it into the usual form I use, which is ballad form." And I took out half the words, and I liked the song a lot better. It was much lighter.
And as we both have background in psychology, and there's a lot of focus on our feelings at this time. You said you started out feeling agitated. What happened with the course of writing the song and coming to some sort of conclusion, some product related, not really a product, a process and an end point of this?
Well, it was actually meditation, which I do regularly, not very long every day. I try to do it every day. And in one of my meditation sessions, I started to cry, and I realized that I was scared to death and very sad about not seeing my family. Passover was coming up. It's one of the times when I go down and stay with them in New York, and I was going to miss that. And just the people that I'm connecting with via Zoom and all that, but it's not the same. There's no hugs. And so I was able then to put that in a song. I added a couple lines there. And that put me very much more at peace, actually. It really helped a lot. And then I could be more productive with the time I had. But I still am eating a lot.
Well,
I don't know about you. You seem to be no.
I'm counting my rice pieces of rice. Not quite, but
Can you go last?
yeah. So you came to peace. That's important to know.
What?
You have you've been writing songs since the 60s, but you've been singing songs since you were a child back in your early
Oh, yeah.
years.
I've been writing songs since my 60s, not
Your
since the
60s.
last 60s.
Oh, right.
Uh,
And
since
then,
since
but
the 2000s. Yeah. Oh, my family always sang around the piano, and then I met the Seeger family, as you well know, when
the
I was in my teens.
the
And
Seeger family, you said you used to.
the Seeger family, yeah,
Uh,
Peggy and Mike, who were teenagers, the
ah,
younger brother and sister of Pete, and their father and their younger sisters.
so you were making some music with them.
Yes, and I took up guitar. My father bought me a guitar at that point, which was wonderful. And
Mhm.
Mike was my first teacher. And so we would go there after square dances and have hootenannies. And their housekeeper was Elizabeth Cotton, the great ragtime guitarist, but she was a maid. She wasn't the great ragtime guitarist that we knew, but she was, but nobody knew it. And she would come out sometimes and play her songs like Freight Train for us.
Wow.
I was
Uh,
blessed. It was such a blessing.
yeah. And then, and then a number of decades later, what was it about your 60s that brought songwriting out at
Well,
long
what
last?
happened was I was in a sort of uh, well, my husband died when I was 49 and he was 49. So I had a long period of widowhood and dating, relationships that didn't work out. So I finally wrote off men. And so there was this place there where I wasn't having much to do, waiting for my first grandchild. Um, so I heard about this music camp on Lake Winnipesaukee. And Peggy Seeger was going to be the teacher. So I signed up on the spot on my Nokia cell phone. I called the Dick Pleasance, the DJ at WMB, and started going in 2002 and tried guitar and voice. I wasn't getting better at anything. So I decided to try something I'd never tried, which is songwriting. And I wrote my first song in 2004 in Bob Frankie's class, and it wasn't bad. And
Yeah.
I thought, I can do this. So
And how
then
many?
I kept on writing.
And then what?
Then I just kept on writing until I
And
had a
how
bunch of
many
songs.
songs?
People encouraged me. They kept encouraging me. Somebody said, I want to record you. Somebody else said, you ought to make a CD. So I did those things. Crazy. It seemed crazy.
That's wonderful
And
and very
then it was,
important.
I took off.
Yeah. And so what else do you write songs about, Peg? Can you share another one?
Sure. Well, I'll sing you the truth about 80.
All right.
Now I wrote this song when I turned 80, which was 3 years ago, but I wrote it for a friend who was turning 80 and having a birthday party. And she's a writer. And I was supposed to bring something in writing to her birthday party. So of course I thought I would bring a song, and I forgot about it until the night before the party. So I quick threw together this song, and it's very simple but very true. Okay. It's 9 on Monday morning, I haven't much to do. I've made myself some coffee, gonna read the paper too. I go to get the paper, I open the front door, and then I think of something I should purchase at the store. I look for pen or pencil to write the item down. There's pencils in the office, so I go and turn around. I walk into the office, I see that bills are due. I grab a chair and sit me down and write a check or two. And then I think of Annie, her birthday's coming soon. I'll need to write a song for her before another moon. But something else is bugging me, a thing that I forgot, a thing that I was doing when my coffee still was hot. So I walk into the living room, the answer must be there. Why did I open the front door? The newspaper. So that's the truth about 80, the thing that's hard to do, to keep our minds on just one thing until we see it through. Now I'll go and read my paper, heat up that cup of joe, and if you see yourself in me, I hope you'll tell me so.
Thank you, Peg. Um, I love how you embrace life in your songs with honesty, real examples that are true to us, with humility and humor, and some great specific details also. So thank you for sharing that, and that is good to know in advance. Good advice, and we have talked about wisdom, which I think flows through your songs, and I know you have groupies who are fans of your songs.
I do have some, yes.
And I think that I know you have said, oh, I don't know if we call that wisdom, something like what you just wrote about. But I think the fact that you are real and honest about what the process of aging is about, what the process of going through Corona is like alone, these are all very important things to address in our writing so we feel connected, whether we're in one building or not with each other, but through our humanity, through your songs. And I think that your songs can give us peace as well as yourself.
Well, thank you.
I was wondering, with your years of experience, I consider you more ageless. I don't really think about octogenarian or number with you. But if you, from all your life experience, some of which I know about, have any thoughts of what has helped you get through the hard times in life, like we're going through now, any particular advice or what something helpful that has gotten you through?
Well, I would say friends have
Mm.
gotten me through a lot.
Mm.
I've been very blessed in always having some good friends. And then I married a man I loved, and he was a great support. And my children, who are, I think, watching this, I
Good.
said I wouldn't embarrass them. Maybe my grandchildren might even be watching too. They're teenagers. Anyway, knowing they're there, even if I can't see them, is really very important to me. To me, that's the most important.
Yeah.
Um, but my friends have always been there for me. And my meditation practice is now quite helpful. I've only been doing that for, I don't know, 2-3 years. You're not supposed to say this, but I don't feel I'm good at it. But, it helps me. Insofar as I can do it, it helps. And exercise for me is very, very important, physical activity.
Keep moving, because
Yeah,
it can
keep
be
moving
tempting to
so
just stay
far
in
as you
one
can.
place, right?
Yeah.
And songwriting, perhaps a little.
Songwriting and also political activity. When I, instead of just sitting around being very sad and angry and despairing about situations I don't like, I throw myself into activity to try to change things. Like today, I wrote 10 postcards to voters in Florida, trying to get them to register to vote by mail because they're more likely to vote if they are in the vote by mail system. Um,
Well, thank you for your good.
camaraderie in that as well.
I know you do a lot of different types of activism work in politics and social justice, connected to your church community and beyond, political
Yes,
community.
actually, this particular thing I'm doing now, I don't think is not my church community. Actually, the Wayland Church that I'm not affiliated with, they are sponsoring one of the things I'm doing.
So you are pretty busy at this strange time, and impressively so. Um, and I don't know if you wanted to add anything to all we've talked that has gone by so fast, but I know I also would love for you to share one more song with
That
what
I'd love to do that. So,
we have 5 minutes left. So
okay.
you can say what you like as introduction and share a song, please.
Okay. Well, I will share one. None of my songs are that long, by the way. Um, oh dear. This is one of my wisdom songs,
All right.
which I tell people what I think. It's also kind of a summation of my life up to the time I wrote it, which was a number of years ago. It's called Slow Down,
Hmm.
and it's on one of my CDs. I think on the second one, called Living Will, Living Well. Terrible title. Let's see. Me and my guy, we were eager to wed and make sweet love in our very own bed. We popped a couple kids, took the show on the road, galloping after that pot of gold. Slow down, we're going too fast. Let's savor the moment, cause the moment won't last. We'll take a little break by the fireside, cuddle up together and enjoy the ride. We served our bosses, our church, and our town. We pointed our children toward the cap and gown. He mowed and he shoveled and I kept us fed. Many's the night we barely stumbled to bed. Slow down, we're going too fast. Let's savor the moment, cause the moment won't last. We'll take a little break by the fireside, cuddle up together and enjoy the ride. My honey was a wise and a prudent man, saving the max in his retirement plan. He didn't make it to the finish line. He left me the money, but I grieve and pine. Slow down, we're going too fast. Let's savor the moment, cause the moment won't last. We'll take a little break by the fireside, cuddle up together and enjoy the ride. Now I'm old, I like to sit in the sun. It's my greatest pleasure when my chores are done. But I don't wait forever to go out and play. I grab a little sun on the busiest day. Slow down, we're going too fast. Let's savor the moment, cause the moment won't last. We'll take a little break by the fireside, cuddle up together and enjoy the ride. Slow down, we're going too fast. Let's savor the moment, cause the moment won't last. We'll take a little break by the fireside, cuddle up together and enjoy the ride. Can't hear you.
Oh,
You disappeared.
let's see. Um, yeah, Peg?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. We had a little technical difficulty, sometimes happens with Zoom, but I got the gist of your song and just want to let folks know if they would like to hear the whole song, which is very good advice for this time as well as for life. You can access your CDs at CD Baby. Is that the
cdbaby.com. I'm also on YouTube and
YouTube?
but if you put in CD Baby, you can also stream me on Spotify.
All
I
right.
don't know how that works. I don't have Spotify, so I don't know.
Okay, so personal concerts in our own living room with you at this time we could have also, or get your CD, and perhaps we can stay tuned and see what song might be coming next by Peg Espinola on YouTube.
That could be.
So
Something might show up.
I thank you so much. We are at the end of our program. Take care and carry on with meditation.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Peg.
Bye-bye.
And songwriting too.
Good. Yes.
Okay.
Love to hear some of your poetry.
All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
All right.